much. And first of all, I would like to say thank you to the university for the invitation at this very interesting conference, and to Professor Zoraki and our staff for the participation to the whole project, this 2-year project. I will speak about the first activities of the SIDEA project, that is the research phase, that was a propedeutic activity that was aimed at providing some useful information, useful for the following activities of the whole project. So the research on refugees' educational needs and expectations was the main component of the work package 1. Okay. And it has been implemented between March and November 2018. And the aim was to screen the educational needs of highly skilled refugees and asylum seekers living in the Aegean Islands. This activity was conceived to provide information for the development of tools and curricula aimed at creating real chances and opportunity, for example, for internship, training, and employment. And the target group that we will see now in detail was represented by asylum seekers and refugees in the 4 islands of the archipelago, but the main activity was conducted in the island of Lesbos, and in particular in Moria and Karatepe hotspots. So the research phase was composed by 3 parts, 3 specific activities. The first one was a desk research, an European overview, so a data collection from official sources such as Frontex, United Nations, IOM, that were analyzed in order to understand the main trends and drivers of recent migration in Greece and Europe, so to better understand the so-called refugee crisis. The second part was a stakeholder analysis, so an inventory of the main organizations and institutions that are already working and dealing with refugees in the archipelago. And you have seen before the list of the members of the network that was developed starting from this inventory. So these actors have been involved during the following steps of the project, exactly in a network approach. Then the main part of the research phase is the sample survey, so a data collection concerning the characteristics of the population of asylum seekers and refugees. That was implemented by the team, the researchers of the university in field, and the results were elaborated by Fondazione delle Memoriessa and compared with the literature review and stakeholders' feedback. I start with a definition by European Commission, so to understand what we are talking about when we talk about asylum. Asylum is a fundamental right and is granted to people fleeing persecution or serious harm in their own country and therefore in need of international protection. So this is important also related to what the professor said before about the perception of refugees. It is important to understand that they are asking the recognition of a right that is recognized by the Geneva Convention, so 1951, and the European Union is working and is stating that it's working to create a common European asylum system. Actually, in this moment, it's quite hard to understand this because it is not really existing and working. But the idea of the European institutions is to create a set of fundamental values and common rules to manage this question at the European level. Talking about some numbers, some data about the so-called refugee crisis. The Eastern Mediterranean was the main route for irregular migration, so for sea arrivals, until March 2016, so until the agreement between European Union and Turkey. And the highest peak was in 2015 with more than 800,000 arrivals. Then in 2017 it was decreased, but in the last 2 years the Eastern Mediterranean route was again the most used, the most high number route, so more than Italy and Spain. And you know that European Union institutions implemented a relocation mechanism that was aimed between 2015 and 2018, was aimed to help the border countries such as Greece and Italy, but it doesn't work finally. So the results of these initiatives were very low. And as a consequence, Greece registered a very high number of asylum applications, even if the country with the highest number were Germany, Italy, and France. And Greece registered a high rate of positive decisions, 42%, similar to the European average. That means that migrants arriving in Greece, in many cases, are effective, coming from war scenarios. So this is a picture from Frontex with, you can see the peak in 2015. It's upgraded at 2016, but in the last years we had a number not similar to the last years, but they are growing. In 2019 and 20 they are still growing. And this is a comparison between the three main routes, so Spain, Italy and Greece, and you can see what I was just saying. So the peak in Greece was in 2015 and 16, and it's growing in the last 3 years. So in 2019, Greece is again the most used route for sea arrivals in Europe. Even if the trend of asylum application is still stronger in Germany. Germany is the country with the highest number of asylum applications. In 2017, the 30% of the application in Europe was in Germany. So this is still the country with, I can say, the stronger strategy approach towards the refugee question. While, for example, Italy and Greece are just managing the emergency phase, but they are not approaching a real integration strategy. So then I come to the second phase of the research, the stakeholder analysis. I just said it was an inventory of key actors dealing with migrants and refugees in the Aegean Islands. And for each of these actors, we tried to understand their interests, their existing activities, and potential contribution to the project. And they were involved 2 years ago in the kick-off seminar of the Syria project, and then in the network for the following activities. So this is more or less a list of these partners that, as we have already seen, it was integrated with other contributions during the project. Then the sample survey. I start with the issues that we and the researchers found during the survey. First of all, logistic issues. For example, bureaucracy was a strong problem because it was hard to enter the camps and to provide questionnaires to the refugees and asylum seekers. Then the frequent uprising and episodes had, of course, a negative impact on the survey because in many cases, for example, the day of the survey, it was not possible to enter in the camp, or some islands were not accessible for the researchers. So logistic issues were really strong and effective for the project. And also social issues. For example, first of all, from the side of the beneficiaries, of the refugees, there was a lack of confidence towards the researchers because, of course, they fear to provide personal data, to answer personal questions. For example, they don't know if police will know this data and something like that. So this produces an extension of the timing of the research because in many cases it was not easy to provide the questionnaire or to collect the questionnaires. Another problem was the fact that refugees live in the camps in very poor conditions, very difficult conditions. So asking them to spend some time for answering to a questionnaire is not easy, and of course many of them don't want to spend their time to a survey. And another issue is a low participation of women that can be explained by a lack of autonomy, and given in some cases by cultural and religious background. So even women are in the camps, but they don't participate a lot to the survey. Anyway, this is the sample composition. The sample was of about 100 respondents, and the main we can distinguish three main areas of origin. So sub-Saharan Africa, Middle East, so Syria, Iran, Iraq, and Central Asia, so Afghanistan and Pakistan. As we said, the sample was at the 90% male, composed by men, and just 10% by women. And we had a strong percentage of participants, English-speaking participants. And the other main languages are French, Arabic, or Persian, Farsi. For what about the age classes, the half of the sample was under 30 years old, so such a young sample. And an interesting data is that more than half of the sample has their certification, so about training, about school studies. So it's quite high percentage, because it's often one of the main problems for refugees to demonstrate their studies. And among the most wanted topics for an academic inclusion process, we found a very large variety of topics, of subjects. The most relevant are computer sciences, humanities, medicines, but you can see that it's a very long list, and there are no. It's not easy to make some clusters of subjects. So, starting from these results, we suggested a structure of the seminars that in some way was taken from the seminar for the project, but it can also represent a little model for other seminars addressed to refugees. So the seminar can be structured in two sessions. The first one with a general presentation, so presentation of the project, presentation of the university offer in terms of faculties, sectors, programs, and presentation of the social and normative environment, so European, national, and local normative framework. And the second session is focused on trans-cutting topics. So, for example, training, such as skill assessment, CV writing, soft skill definition, and so on, and a self-assessment and indication for potential follow-up of training. So this can be, I say, a sort of model of a basic seminar to a first approach with refugees in an academic environment. So just to resume the main results of the project, three main areas of origin of the asylum seekers and refugees in the Aegean Islands. The large majority of the sample has at least a basic knowledge of English, but and half of the sample has a good, an excellent speaking of English. And among the non-English speaking people, the most common languages are French, Arabic, and Farsi. As I said, the female participation is one of the main problems in the camps and in refugee activities, so it's important to work in this sense. Also, the acknowledgement and the recognition of titles and skills is one of the main issues. And as I said, there is a strong variety, high variety of topics that refugees can be interested in. So we concluded our research, and you can find also the guidelines in the final report of the research with some suggestions, some guidelines. The first one is to enforce, as of course the staff did, to enforce the network of stakeholders in order to share results, data, opinion and suggestions. To try to establish a coordination with other universities and institutions, to look at a personal, individual path of training. As was said before, refugees are not a unique actor, but they are different people with different skills and expectations and opportunities. Cultural mediation is one of the main points to take, because we are dealing with people that come from other cultures, so it's important to approach in a correct way with them. And also gender equality and ethics are other values to be considered in all the phases of the project and activity with refugees. Thank you very much.